Good day, everyone, and welcome to Module 6 of our online training session on Good Clinical Practice or GCP. Today, we will be focusing on a critical pillar of clinical research, or essential records in the conduct of a clinical trial. This module is specifically designed for the staff and researchers at the Philippine Orthopedic Center through the oversight of the POC Research Board. We are from the nursing department and we will be guiding you through the documentation requirements that ensure the integrity of our data and the safety of our patients. By the end of this session, you should be able to define what essential records in clinical trial, explain the purpose in ensuring trial quality and compliance, summarize key categories of essential records per ICH E6 or the International Council for Harmonization of Technical Requirements for Pharmaceuticals for Human Use, and recognize which records are required before, during, and after a clinical trial. As we go through this, we will give you real-life examples from clinical research settings, especially those applicable to hospital-based trials. So what exactly are essential records? Essential records are documents generated before, during a clinical trial. Their exact type and number depend on the study design, complexity, and risk level. Think of essential records as the story of the trial. They answer questions like, was the study conducted ethically? Were participants protected? Can the data be trusted? For example, if an auditor asks, was the investigator qualified? You show their curriculum vitae and GCP or the Good Clinical Practice Certificate. If a regulator asks, was informed consent properly obtained, you show signed consent forms. These records use monitoring, audits, and regulatory inspections. Essential records are generally categorized into three distinct phases of a study's life cycle. The first category consists of records related to trial planning and preparation. These are documents created before the clinical phase of the trial formally begins. This includes your investigator's brochure, the signed protocol, and documented approvals for the Institutional Review Board or the IRB or Ethics Committee. Essentially, this proves the trial is ethically sound and ready to start. The second category covers records generated during trial conduct. As the study progresses, we must document every action taken. This includes informed consent forms from participants, source documents like medical records, and reports of any adverse events. These files serve as the living history of the trial and demonstrate the protocol is being followed strictly in real time. Finally, we have records documenting trial closeout and results reporting. Once the last patient has completed their final visit, we must finalize the trial master file. This includes the closeout monitoring report, the final report by the investigator to the IRB, and the clinical study report. These documents provide the final proof of the study's integrity and the validity of the results being reported. Let us now go with the management of essential records. These records are the backbone of any study as they demonstrate the compliance of the investigator, sponsor, and monitor with the standards of good clinical practice or GCP and all applicable regulatory requirements. First and foremost, records must be easily be identifiable and version controlled. In research, document chaos is a major compliance risk. Every record should clearly state what it is and which version it represents to ensure the team is always working with the most current data. Furthermore, accountability is a key. Every document should include, as appropriate, the names of the authors and signatures also of the authors, reviewers, approvers, along with the relevant dates. This creates a clear audit trail of who created the data and who verified it. Next is the research is a team effort, but responsibility must be clear. When activities are delegated, specific arrangements must exist for the access and management of those records. If a principal investigator delegates a task, there must be a system in place to ensure that the delegated individual can access necessary files while maintaining the security and integrity of the data. Where do these records live? Generally, they are maintained into two primary repositories, such as your trial master file or the TMF and the investigator site file or the ISF. Your trial master file usually maintained by the sponsor, while the investigator site file is maintained by at the clinical site. It is a requirement that both sponsors and investigators maintain a definitive record of where these essential records are located, whether they are in a physical binder or a digital cloud. You must be able to point to their exact location during an audit. Finally, the systems we use to store these records, whether electronic or paper-based, cannot simply be storage boxes. They must be functional. A compliant storage systems must allow for clear identification, a visible version history to see how data change over time, and efficient search and retrieval capabilities. We will focus on the records that must be in place before the clinical phase of a trial commences. These documents establish the foundation for the trial's integrity and the protection of our participants. First requirement is the investigator's brochure. This serves as a comprehensive compilation of the clinical and non-clinical data on the investigational product. Its purpose is to ensure that the investigator has been provided with all relevant and current scientific information needed to conduct the trial safely. Both the investigator or the institution and the sponsor must maintain a copy of this in their respective files. Next is we have the signed protocol and amendments, if any, and sample case report form or the CRF. These documents act as the original or the official agreement between the investigator and the sponsor. By signing, both parties commit to the specific rules, methodology, and data collection procedures of the study. Like the brochure, this must be documented in the files of both the investigator and the sponsor. Next is, let's go with the information given to the trial, including applicable translations from the consent form, or this includes the informed consent form, including all applicable translations, and any other written information provided to the subject. The primary goal here is to document that the subjects have been given clear, appropriate, and understandable information. This supports their ability to give fully or truly fully informed consent before any procedures takes place. Once again, both the investigator and the sponsor are required to keep these templates and records on file to ensure transparency and ethical compliance. Moving on to the preparation phase of a clinical trial, we have the advertisement for subject recruitment, if used. If the trial uses ads to find participants, this must be documented. The purpose here is to ensure that recruitment measures are appropriate and, most importantly, not coercive. Note that these are typically kept in the investigators or institution files. For the financial aspects of the trial, this document outlines the financial agreement between the investigator or institution and the sponsor. It's essential for transparency and is required to be held by both the investigator and the sponsor. Next is for the insurance statement. Where required. This document proves that compensation will be available to subjects in the event that of a trial-related injury, because this protects the subjects and the trial's integrity. Both the investigator and sponsor must maintain a copy. The signed agreements between the involved parties, this includes contracts between the investigator and the sponsor, the investigator and a CRO or contract research organization, the sponsor and a CRO, and the investigator and regulatory authorities. These signed documents serve as a formal proof of the agreed upon responsibilities and must be filed by both the institution and the sponsor to ensure accountability throughout the study. Next, we focus on the dated and documented approval or favorable opinion from the Institutional Review Board or the IRB or the Independent Ethics Committee IEC. This approval is not a single blanket statement. It must be specifically cover several key items: the study protocol and any subsequent amendments, the case report forms or the CRF, if applicable, all informed consent forms that will be presented to the participants, any other written information to be provided to the subjects such as recruitment, if used, advertisements, or details regarding subject compensation. Why is this specific document so vital? Its purpose is twofold. First, it serves as the official evidence that the trial has undergone a rigorous ethical review and has been granted a favorable opinion. Second, it allows us to clearly identify the exact version, number, and date of the documents that were approved, ensuring that no unapproved versions are used during the trial. The documentation is mandatory for the files of both the investigator institution and the sponsor. Compliance requires that both parties maintain these records to be ready for any future audits or inspections. For the Institutional Review Board or IRB or IEC or the Independent Ethics Committee composition, this document proves that the IRB or IEC is constituted in strict agreement with Good Clinical Practice or GCP guidelines. A copy must be maintained by the investigator or institution. The sponsor is also required to keep a copy where necessary. Next, we have the regulatory authority authorization, approval, notification of protocol. This is our green light from the governing regulatory bodies. It confirms that the protocol has been officially vetted and approved before any subjects are enrolled. Both the investigator and the sponsor are responsible for keeping these records on file, depending on local regulatory requirements. We focus on the personnel. This includes the curriculum vitae and other documents evidencing the qualification of the principal investigator and all sub-investigators. We must document that the team has the necessary expertise, training, and medical eligibility to provide supervision and ensure subject safety. This must be present in both the investigator institution files and the sponsor files. For normal values or ranges for medical laboratory and technical procedures included in the protocol, to accurately interpret trial data, we must have a documented baseline of what normal looks like for the specific tests being used in the study. Like the curriculum vitae, these are mandatory for both the investigator and the sponsor. Moving on to the essential documentation required before a clinical trial officially commences. Medical, laboratory, technical procedures, and tests. This documentation serves as a proof that the facility is competent to perform required tests and that the results produced will be reliable. Documentation of this includes your certifications, accreditations, established quality control assessments. These files must be kept by both the sponsor and the investigator where required. Next is the sample of labels attached to investigational product containers. This is to document compliance with labeling regulations and to ensure that the instructions provided to the trial subjects are clear and appropriate. Notably, this record is required to be held primarily in the sponsor's files. Next is instructions for handling of investigational products and trial-related materials. This ensures that everyone involved knows exactly how to store, package, dispense, and dispose of trial materials. If these details are not already in the protocol or the investigator's brochure, they must be documented here. Both the investigator and the sponsor must maintain copies of these instructions to maintain consistency and safety. Next is shipping records for investigational products and trial-related materials. These records track shipment dates, batch numbers, and the method of delivery. This is vital for accountability as it allows for the review of shipping conditions and tracking of products batches throughout their journey. Like handling instructions, this must be maintained by both the investigator and the sponsor. For the continuation of the records before the clinical phase of the trial commences, let's proceed with the certificates of analysis of investigational products shipped. To document identity, purity, and strength of the investigational products used in the trial. Note that this is a sponsor-only document. Okay? It is not required to be in the investigator's or the institution's file. Next is the coding procedures for blinded trials. In blinded studies, we must have clear procedure on how the blind can be broken in case of a medical emergency. This ensures that the identity of the product can be revealed for a specific subject without compromising the entire trial. This document must be held by both the investigator or the institution and the sponsor or designated third party. Let's proceed with master randomization list. This list documents the method used to randomize the trial population. To maintain the integrity of the study, this kept strictly with the sponsor or a third party. It is not kept by the investigator during the trial to prevent bias. Next is pre-trial monitoring. Before a trial starts, we must document that the site is actually suitable for the study, meaning that they have the right facilities and staff. This report is kept in the sponsor's files. Interestingly, this may be combined with the next document we'll discuss, which is the trial initiation monitoring report. We have this trial initiation report. This proves that the trial procedures were officially reviewed with the investigator and their staff. This is a shared responsibility. So a record of this must be present in both the investigator or institution files and the sponsor files. Moving forward in our discussion on clinical trial management, we will now focus on the essential records that must be maintained during the clinical conduct of the trial. It is vital to ensure that all updates and revisions are documented in real time to maintain the integrity of the study and ensure the safety of our participants. Let us now start with the investigator's brochure updates. The primary goal here is to document that the investigator is informed in a timely manner of all relevant information as it becomes available throughout the trial. This ensures the medical team is always working with the most current safety and efficacy data. As you see on the table, a copy of these updates must be kept in the files of both the investigator or the institution and the sponsor. Next, we address with any revision made to court trial documents. This includes, but is not limited to, your protocol or any amendments, the CRF form or the case report forms, informed consent form, any other written information provided to subjects, and any advertisements used for subject recruitment. We maintain these records to document every revision of trial-related documents that takes effect while the trial is active. This creates a clear audit trail of what version of a document was in use at any given time. Just like your brochure updates, these revisions must be filed by both the investigator and the sponsor to ensure regulatory compliance across both parties. For the continuation of the records during the clinical conduct of trial, dated and documented approval or favorable opinions from the Institutional Review Board or the IRB or the Independent Ethics Committee or IEC. What needs approval? This isn't just about the initial start of the trial. It includes protocol amendments, revisions to the informed consent form, recruitment, advertisements, or any other written information provided to the subjects. It also covers the results of continuing reviews. We maintain this to prove that every change or update to the study was peer-reviewed and officially sanctioned. This documentation must clearly identify the version number and the date of the documents. You will notice that an X is marked for both the investigator and the institution, including the sponsor, because both parties must keep this on file. Next is we address the regulatory authority authorizations. This covers approvals or notifications required by national or local regulatory bodies, for instance, the FDA, specifically regarding the protocol amendments and or other required trial documents. This acts as the primary evidence of compliance with applicable regulatory requirements. Again, this required in the files of both the investigator and the sponsor. Note that the where required here tag for investigators, as specific local laws may dictate which notifications they must personally archive. Finally, here is the curriculum vitae for new investigators or sub-investigators. As trial progresses, new sub-investigators or staff members may join the team. Just as we documented the original team, we must document the qualifications of any new personnel to ensure they are competent to perform their assigned trial-related duties. Both the institution and the sponsor must maintain these updated CVs to remain compliant with GCP standards. For the updates to normal values, ranges for medical laboratory, technical procedures, tests included in the protocol, it is vital to document any revisions to normal values or ranges for medical laboratory or technical procedures included in the protocol. This ensures that the data collected throughout the trial is interpreted against the most current reference standards. Both the investigator and the sponsor must maintain these records. Let's proceed, both the investigator and sponsor. Let's proceed with the updates of medical laboratory technical procedures and tests. This involves maintaining current certifications, accreditations, or established quality control validations. The purpose is to document that all tests remain adequate and reliable throughout the entire trial period. While the sponsor always keeps a copy, the investigator or institution remains or maintains this where required. For the investigation or documentation of investigational products and trial-related materials shipment, we move to the tracking and quality of study materials themselves. This section requires the documentation of investigational products and trial-related materials shipments. This creates a clear chain of custody for the studied drugs or devices. Both the investigator and the sponsor are responsible for these files. Next is the certificate of analysis for new batches of investigational products. For any batches of investigational products, a certificate of analysis must be recorded, notably according to the table. This specific document is required to be located in the files of the sponsor. This one. Next is for monitoring visit reports. These reports are used to document site visits conducted by the monitor and crucially the findings of that monitor. Per the requirements shown here, these official reports are maintained in the files of the sponsor to track site performance and compliance. Another records during the clinical conduct of a trial. Let's go with the relevant communication other than site visits. This includes your letters, meeting notes, and log of telephone calls. To document any agreements or significant discussions regarding trial administration, protocol violations, trial conduct, or adverse event or AE reporting. Both the investigator or institution and the sponsor are required to maintain these reports. Next is the signed informed consent forms. This proved that consent was obtained in accordance with GCP and the protocol, dated prior to the subject's participation. It also documents that subjects granted permission for direct access to their records. As you can see, the original signed forms are maintained by the investigator or institution. Next is the source documents. These are original records such as your medical charts and lab results. The purpose of this is to document the existence of the subject and substantiate the integrity of the data collected. And as you can see, this remain in the files of the investigator or in the institution only. For the signed, dated, and completed case report forms or the CRF, this confirms that the investigator or authorized staff confirms the observations recorded for each subject. The investigator keeps a copy while the sponsor receives the original. Let's go to documentation of CRF corrections. CRF meaning case report forms. If any data needs to be updated, we must maintain documentation of CRF corrections. The purpose of this is to provide a clear audit trail of all changes, additions, or corrections made to the CRF after the initial data was recorded. The filing for here is like the CRFs themselves, the investigator keeps a copy and the sponsor receives the original. Let's go to the notification by originating investigator to sponsor of serious adverse events and related reports. To ensure the timely notification of SAE or the serious adverse events and related safety reports in accordance with section 4.11, that's the purpose of this. And the filing, as you can see, both the investigator and the sponsor must maintain copies of these notifications. For the continuation of records during the clinical conduct of trial, let's go with the notification of unexpected serious adverse drug reaction. It is the responsibility of the sponsor and the investigator to notify authorities and the IRB, IEC of any serious reactions or unexpected serious reactions. To comply with safety reporting standards. That's it. This must be kept in sponsor files or sponsors files and the investigators files. Next is the notification by sponsor to investigators of safety information. This ensures that all investigators are kept up to date on a new safety data that arises during the trial. This is mandatory for both the investigator and the sponsor. Next is the interim or annual reports to IRB, IEC, and authorities. This provide regular updates on the trial status. Okay, that's the most important or the purpose of this. And as you can see, both parties must retain this. Though for the sponsor, it is filed where required by local regulations. Next is subject screening log. This documents the identification of all subjects who entered pre-trial screening, showing who was considered and why some may not have proceeded. The investigator must keep this log. The sponsor maintains a copy where required. Next is the subject identification code list. It allows the investigator to keep a confidential list of subject names linked to their trial numbers. This is what allows an investigator to reveal a subject's identity in case of an emergency or if required by law. Notice that this is only kept in investigator's file to maintain subject confidentiality and trial binding or blinding. The sponsor does not have access to the list. Next, we'll go again with the records during the clinical conduct of the trial. Let's proceed with the subject enrollment log. Okay. The primary purpose of this is to document the chronological enrollment of subjects by their assigned trial numbers. Note that this document is located exclusively in the files of the investigator or institution because this maintains subject confidentiality while allowing for an organized audit trail of who entered the study and when. Next is the investigational products accountability at the site. This log proves that the studied drugs or devices were used strictly according to the protocol, tracking what was received, dispensed, and returned. Because this is critical for both safety and data validity, copies must be maintained by both the investigator, institution, and the sponsor. Next is the signature sheet. It is vital validation tool. It documents the signatures and initials of all personnel authorized to make entries or corrections on case report forms or the CRFs. This ensures that every piece of data can be tracked or traced back to an authorized individual, preventing unauthorized data entry. Like the IP or the investigational products, this must be held by both the investigator and the sponsor. Next is the record of retained body fluids, tissue samples, if any. We must maintain a record of retained body fluids or tissue samples. This documents the exact location and identification of these samples. This is necessary in case assays need to be repeated or if further testing is required later in the study. Responsibility for these records is shared between the investigator and the sponsor. Let's go with the records after completion or termination of trial. Let's proceed with the investigational products accountability at site. This is our final balance sheet for the study drug or device, it documents the investigational products were used strictly according to the protocol. It provides a final accounting of all IP received at the site, what was dispensed to the subjects, what was returned by subjects, and what was ultimately returned to the sponsor. This must be kept in the files of both the investigator, institution, and the sponsor. Next, we'll proceed with the documentation of investigational product instruction. If the unused investigational products were not returned to the sponsor but were instead destroyed, we must have formal documentation of that destruction process. This is always required in the sponsor's files. It is only required in the investigator's files if the destruction actually took place at the clinical site. Next is the completed subject identification code list. This is a critical document for subject safety and data integrity. It allows for the identification of all subjects enrolled in the trial in case medical follow-up is required later. Because of patient confidentiality, this list must be kept in secure, confidential manner for an agreed upon period. To protect patient privacy, this is kept exclusively in the files of the investigation institution. It is not shared with the sponsor in a way that unblinds themselves or unblinds identities. Next is the audit certificate. If an audit was performed on the duty, this certificate serves as the formal record that the audit took place. This document is maintained in the sponsor's files. For the final trial closeout monitoring report, this is the final stamp on the study. It documents that all activities required for trial closeout must have been completed and ensures that copies of all essential documents are held in the appropriate files. And as you can see, this report is maintained by the sponsor. Next is the records again after completion or termination of trial. We'll proceed with the treatment allocation and decoding documentation. The primary purpose of this record is to document any decoding or unblinding that may have occurred during the study. According to GCP or the Good Clinical Practice Guidelines, this document is returned to the sponsor to maintain a permanent record of how the treatment assignments were managed, only the sponsor. Next is the final report by the investigator to IRB, IEC were required and were applicable to the regulatory authorities. This is submitted, as I have mentioned, to IRB or the Institutional Review Board or IEC or the Independent Ethics Committee and were applicable to the regulatory authorities. The purpose of this is straightforward: to officially document the completion of the trial at the site level. This record must be maintained within the files of the investigator or the institution. Next, last but not the least, is the clinical study report. This is the comprehensive document used to record the results and the professional interpretation of the trial data, because this is the definitive summary of the entire study. Copies must be kept by the sponsor and also by the investigator or institution if applicable or required by local regulations. Okay. As we wrap up our discussion on essential records, I want to leave you with the single most important mantra in clinical research. If it is not documented, it did not happen. You could perform the most perfect clinical procedure in history, but without a contemporaneous, accurate record of that event, that data simply does not exist for the trial. Why is this so critical? Maintaining this essential trial documents isn't just about paperwork or checking boxes. It serves three vital purposes. The first one is ensuring compliance. It provides the paper trail necessary to prove to auditors and inspectors that the study followed the approved protocol and legal regulations. Next is protecting participants or protects participants. Documentation tracks safety signals and informed consent. It is our primary tool for ensuring that every person enrolled in the study is being treated ethically and safely. Last is preserves the integrity of the data or preserving data integrity. The ultimate goal of any trial is to produce reliable results. Proper records ensure that the data remains traceable and verifiable from the moment it is collected until the final study report is published. As you move forward with your work, remember your documentation is the bridge between the work you do in the clinic and the scientific evidence that eventually brings new treatments to produce or treatments to patients. Let's make sure that bridge is solid. Thank you for listening. You may now proceed to viewing Module 7, the WHO tool, Benchmarking Ethics, Oversight of Health-Related Research with Human Participants.